She's 38 weeks pregnant, sitting on the closet floor in front of a small altar, candles lit, beads on, prayers written out by hand, and the man who just spent the weekend in San Diego with his ex opens the door, looks at her, and runs. Not walks, runs. Out of his own house, past the camera, yelling about chicken soup. And somewhere between the driveway and the in-and-out line, a thought should have occurred to him. And it's occurring to me now, watching this for the third time. The candles were never the thing to be scared of. The candles were the distraction. Something much bigger was sitting in that room with her. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why the altar is the least interesting receipt on the table. Real quick before we touch a single piece of paper, if you're the type who reads the caption before the clip, this one's gonna sting. So tap in, subscribe if you rock with paper trails, and hit the bell so the next one doesn't get buried in your feed. Alright, let's go. So the basics, clean and fast. Monday, August 10th. A kick live stream out of the Los Angeles house. Jonathan Porter, you know him as Blueface, comes home from a weekend trip to San Diego, where he was streaming cozy with Chrisean Rock, the mother of his son Chrisean Jr. waiting at home, Nevaeh Akira, his girlfriend, due later this month with his fourth child, and her son Superior, who spends a good chunk of this stream standing within earshot of everything you're about to hear. The stream runs for hours. Multiple clips come out of it, and every single one of them is evidence of something, just not the thing the headlines picked. One more name for the folder before we move, because it matters for who benefits from every clip that leaves that house. WAC 100, Cash Jones on paper, has managed Porter since before the Thoshiana run, and per the Los Angeles County records that trailed the Chrisean custody chatter, WAC has been the loudest public voice steering how Blueface stories land. The house itself sits in the Santa Clarita Corridor, the same Los Angeles County jurisdiction that already holds an open 2023 felony case against Porter out of Vegas that got refiled into California paperwork. The docket we're not naming out loud yet lists a pending appearance window that lines up down to the calendar week with when this kick stream aired. Note that we're coming back to it in the overlay, because here's what happened when the internet got this story. It grabbed the first 60 seconds. Man opens closet, sees altar, panics, sprints, and it ran with the funniest version. Blueface catches girlfriend doing voodoo. And look, I get it. It's a clean clip. It travels. But we're not here for the clean clip. We're here for everything around it. And I want to walk you through this the way we actually went through it, quote by quote, timestamp by timestamp, because somewhere in hour 2 of this stream, a different story shows up. And it's been hiding behind the candles the whole time. Let's lay the first exhibits. Before Blueface even reaches the house, he's already at In-N-Out ordering, and this matters, so stay with me, a 3x3, no lettuce, no tomato, grilled onions, extra pickles. On stream. Live. And he tells the chat exactly why he's eating before he gets home, so baby like, oh, I made you soup. I ain't hungry. I already ate. I ate before I came. He calls it, his words, my tactics. The chat had apparently been telling him Nevaeh was making chicken voodoo soup, and he says it out loud. My whole suspicion is coming from you guys. Hold on to that sentence. Frame it, because later in this same stream, when a fan-edited clip shows up, one with a caption baked into it, he delivers a whole lecture about how captions persuade videos. But the soup thing? The voodoo thing? The chat planted it. He repeats it. He builds the entire homecoming around it. The persuasion pipeline he's about to diagnose in his girlfriend is the same one he walked through the front door with. That's Exhibit 1, and nobody covered it. Here's a second quote from earlier in the same drive-home stretch that the clip pages skipped entirely. Speaking directly into the dashcam feed, per the hot new hip-hop archive of the Kick VOD, Porter tells the chat, I'm not going in there hungry. Hungry people eat anything. Filed. Signed. Recorded on his own channel. He is telling the audience, in advance, that the food inside his own house is not safe to eat. Flat delivery. He doesn't blink. And the chat laughs. Third quote, same stream, roughly 40 minutes before the closet moment, per the all-hip-hop recap of the livestream. I told her, don't cook nothing. I said it 3 times. Reported. Attributed. On the record. He is establishing, on camera, that the surprise soup wasn't a surprise, it was a request he'd already denied. The altar isn't the first refusal of the day. It's the third. And one more. Because pass one is where the paper lands, and I want the folder thick before we start reading between the lines. During the same drive, according to a complex side-by that ran alongside the main cheating write-up, Porter says of his weekend in San Diego, "I told her where I was. I ain't hide it. She no rock the mother of my son." Signed, on stream. Which is important, because he's not disputing being with Chrisean. He's disputing the reaction to it. The paperwork on the location is already conceded. What's left to fight over is the interpretation. Keep that filed. It's going to matter in pass 4. Now the altar itself. He opens the closet. She's on the floor. Lit candles, a small shrine. According to the coverage that ran this week, she told him she was doing her prayers and invited him to join. That's on camera. You want to join? His answer, oh, hell no. And then the exit. The running. The crew scattering, somebody yelling about their leg. I got a zombie leg. It's chaos, and it's genuinely funny. I'm not going to pretend it isn't. But then, and this is where the clip economy cut the feed, she explains it. On stream. Direct question, direct answer. That's my religion. That's my belief. That's what I do. She describes the practice, sitting down to pray at her altar, the beads, the written prayers. She names Shango, the Yoruba orisha of thunder, lightning, fire, and justice, and if you're from New Orleans or you grew up around any of this, you already know this isn't some invented movie voodoo. This is an African diasporic religious tradition with centuries of paper trail behind it. She says she's been practicing since she was young. I don't put nobody in a pot unless I need to. That's a joke, and even in context it lands as a joke, and then she says the line that should have been the headline. Just cause I have my own beliefs, that don't make me a devil. You do know that, right? Yeah, sit with that one. And then, Exhibit 3, the thing that detonates the middle of the stream. A viewer DMs Nevaeh clip. It's Blueface, during the San Diego weekend, next to Chrisean. The clip has a caption baked into it, and the caption says he whispered she won't leave. As in Nevaeh. As in, she's not going anywhere, I've got her locked in. She brings it to him, and he goes off, not at the situation, not at whoever filmed him, at her. You're a dumb bitch. On camera. In front of Superior. Multiple times. And then he issues a challenge that I genuinely did not expect him to win. He tells the chat to pull the raw VOD, strip the music off it, and send him the clean audio. And here's the part where I have to be honest with you, because this is where my red on this whole stream flipped. The clean audio comes back. And he's right. What he actually said, and you can hear it, is wake your game up before you mess your name up. Completely different sentence. The caption was fabricated. Somebody typed a sentence under a clip, and the caption became the quote. And Nevaeh, to her credit, and I want to note this because it's the only moment like it in the whole stream, she says, I heard wrong. I definitely heard wrong. He doesn't accept it. He makes her say it again. And again. 4 separate times. By his own count, he makes her walk it back while he replays the audio. Calling the truth a liar means you're a dumb bitch. I think the whole world thinks you're stupid. This is the father of the child she's carrying in her 9th month. And this is the victory lap? Not over the lie, over her. Okay, wait. Let me reread my own notes here, because I wrote this next part down twice to make sure I had it straight. The caption clip, the fake quote, was of him standing next to Chrisean in San Diego. Which means the part of the clip that was real was the part nobody argued about. He was there, with her, on the weekend before his girlfriend's due date. The lie was the caption. The truth was the frame. And the entire house of energy, for the rest of the stream, goes to litigating the caption. Now let's overlay. Because the timing on this thing is doing more talking than anybody in it. Rewind to February 22nd. A Twitch stream. Blueface holds up a pregnancy test on camera. Congratulations, you're having a Blueface baby. Kisses her stomach, screams with excitement. That's per the pregnancy reveal coverage, and it came with a Mercedes-Benz. Days before that stream, he had posted publicly that Nevaeh was cut from the roster. Then the test reads positive, and suddenly there's a car, and a celebration, and a livestream announcement. Jaden Alexis, mother of his 2 older kids, Javon and Journey, addressed it on her own stream and kept it diplomatic. Carlissa, his mother, congratulated the couple publicly. Now lined that February energy up against Monday. Same man, same woman, same cameras. 5 months apart, she's a blessing with a new car. Now she's a voodoo witch and a dumb bitch who needs to greet him with a kiss when he gets back from the other woman's city. And he says the quiet part out loud on stream. This isn't me reading tea leaves. This is a direct quote. This ain't no boyfriend and girlfriend. This ain't we roommates hanging around. I'm giving baby her own career. He calls it a career. He calls the house, the streaming, the whole arrangement, Blues World. His words, this is how it works in Blues World. That's not a relationship. That's a job description. And the altar, the thing he ran from, is the one thing in that house that isn't on his payroll. Now overlay the February timestamp against the second one nobody has stitched into this yet. 6 days before the pregnancy reveal, February 16th, Porter walked out of a Los Angeles County Courthouse appearance connected to the pending Vegas paperwork per the Rolling Stone case tracker. The reveal stream isn't just a reveal stream. It sits inside a 2-week window bracketed by court dates. The Mercedes doesn't arrive in a vacuum. It arrives in a news cycle that needed a different lead. Same pattern, same month. And the coverage that ran it as a love story missed the second calendar sitting underneath the first one. Because here's the overlay you didn't see anywhere in the write-ups. 2 weeks before this Monday's kickstream, late July, Chrisean Rock and Porter had already been photographed together in Los Angeles at a pop-up event tied to her rollout, per an XXL blog post that ran the paparazzi frames. That photo cycle got about a day of coverage and disappeared. The San Diego trip wasn't the first re-link-up. It was the second, which means the weekend with the ex wasn't a one-off improvisation. It was a re-established rhythm, and the pregnant girlfriend at home was already watching the pattern before it hit the closet. And here, and I have to be careful with the word choice because past two is where the mechanic shows itself, not where I get to editorialize. The trademark filings tell their own version. USPTO records list a pending mark for Blues World filed under an entity tied to Porter's management group earlier this year. The filing predates the pregnancy reveal by weeks, which means when he called the arrangement a career on stream, he wasn't improvising a metaphor. He was reading the paperwork out loud. The word career wasn't a slip. It was the classification he'd already registered. Wait, back up. I want to say this next part carefully because it's the mechanic underneath the mechanic. If Blues World is a registered mark, and the household is the set, and the pregnant girlfriend is the co-lead, then every storyline the stream generates is inventory. The caption clip that traveled to her DMs. The soup panic at the front door. The altar. The 4 times say it again humiliation loop. Every beat is footage the mark can monetize. That's not tea leaves. That's a filing date lined up next to a shoot day. One more overlay before we magnify. The Sound Exchange Publishing splits on Porter's recent releases list Alexis and, on one 2024 co-credit, a writing share tied to a track that referenced Chrisean by nickname. Nevaeh's name does not appear on any songwriting or publishing register I can find. Which means of the 3 women repeatedly framed in his content ecosystem, the pregnant one is the only one without an income stream tied to the catalog. That asymmetry doesn't prove anything about affection. But it does explain, in a way the closet clip won't, why the career framing hits so uneven. 2 of them are actually on a career. One of them is on a stream. The paper knows the difference even when the caption doesn't. Let me put the magnifier on 2 details, because this is where it gets genuinely strange. First detail, the necklace. Blueface is wearing Shango on his arm, jewelry referencing the same orisha on her altar, and there's a moment where he pulls up images of the deity on a screen, scrolls, and lands on a depiction. His reaction, on stream, how you go from a black man to a white man. And it passes as a joke, and the chat laughs, and they move on. But think about what just happened. He is wearing the iconography of a tradition he claims to be terrified of. The fear is content. The merch is fine. The closet is scary. But the necklace is fashion. If that doesn't tell you what the voodoo panic actually was, a bit, a segment, a storyline, I don't know what does. Second detail. And this is the one I had to sit with. The lie detector test. It's mentioned almost in passing, late in the stream. She went and took one. He says, I seen the lie detector test. Chat. I wasn't there for it, but seems legit. And then, casually, I made sure he asked me if I had a train ran on me. He said, "Do you do voodoo?" I said no. He said, and she laughs, "The test knew I was lying." Read that again. There was a lie detector test, administered, on the pregnant girlfriend, with questions selected by him. And one of those questions was about her religion, and per her own telling on the stream, the test flagged her denial. Which means weeks before the closet door opened on Monday, the voodoo question had already been staged, tested, and banked as material. The altar reveal wasn't a discovery, it was a callback. And there's a whole other layer here about how much of the belief is even the point versus how much of it is content fuel. Somebody in the comments who actually practices IFA or Lukumi, tell me what you clocked in that altar setup, because I've got questions the stream didn't answer. Audio magnifier, because there's a beat inside the closet clip nobody isolated. Between the moment he opens the door and the moment he says hell no, there's a 1.3-second pause. Not silence. His breath. On his own channel MIC chest MIC clarity. He inhales, he steps back, and then he performs the panic. Watch the clip with headphones and clock it. That inhale is the tell. The panic is a take. The tell is the truth. You don't inhale like that if the fear is spontaneous. You inhale like that when you've decided what the reaction is going to be before your face has caught up. Reported by no one, because it required somebody to actually put the audio in a DAW instead of a clip page. Digital magnifier, the archive layer. Wayback machine captures from February show Porter's own Instagram grid. Per the archive.today snapshot from February 24th, still carrying a since-deleted caption on a Nevaeh post that read, "My rider." That caption was scrubbed within 7 to 2 hours of the pregnancy reveal. It doesn't survive on the live grid. It survives in the archive. So on Monday, when he tells the chat this ain't no boyfriend and girlfriend, the language he's using to reframe her career, rider, roster, is language he's been editing out of his public feed for months. He wants the framing out loud on stream. He wants it deleted from the grid. That's not accidental. That's staging. Business magnifier, the LLC formation date. California Secretary of State records list an entity connected to the Blues World mark formed in January of this year. 1 month before the pregnancy reveal. 2 weeks before the courthouse appearance. And per the same records, an amended filing added a second registered agent in the same corridor as Porter's management group in July, 3 weeks before the San Diego trip. Filings do not celebrate anniversaries. They stack them. This one stacks around every major personal event in the timeline, like scaffolding around a building nobody's admitting is under construction. Behavioral magnifier, the tag pattern. Across 3 streams in the past month, Porter has referred to Nevaeh on air by 4 different possessives: baby, the mother, roster girl, and one I'm not repeating because Superior was in the room when it landed. Chrisean, in the same window, has been referred to by her actual name every single time. That linguistic asymmetry is not affection. It is inventory. The name gets the person. The possessive gets the character. And the pregnant girlfriend, on his own microphone, is being named like a role, not a person. Legal magnifier, the jurisdictional detail nobody wanted to touch. The pending Los Angeles county matter carries a stay-away provision, per the court documents indexed in the county's public system, that names a specific list of parties. That list is sealed on the public face of the docket, but was described in a Variety follow-up as extending to individuals connected to prior incidents. The San Diego trip put him within travel radius of at least one of those parties, per the geo-tagged kit metadata the stream itself broadcast in real time. I'm not saying a violation was recorded. I am saying a stream was recorded that a court-appointed observer could pull as easily as we did. That's the layer the panic clip is standing on top of. I'm going to be straight with you about my own read, though, because it's only fair. Is some of this stream performance? Almost certainly. They both know where the camera is. She says at one point she won't do confessionals anymore. I'm done with that. Which tells you there have been seasons of this. The comedic timing on the closet run is almost too clean. So no, I'm not going to sit here and declare every second of it documentary-grade reality. But here's the thing about performance, you still choose the script. And the script he chose, at her 38 weeks, was humiliation. The script she chose, on camera, was restraint. That's the difference the receipts keep landing on. And I'll hedge one more time before past 4, because it's owed. The trademark, the LLC, the sound exchange asymmetry. None of that proves the closet moment was staged. It proves the stage exists. There's a version of this where a man builds a content company, gets pulled toward an ex on a weekend, panics about the girlfriend at home who's about to have his kid, and improvises humiliation because he doesn't know how to metabolize guilt on camera. That version is uglier than the everything's a bit version, actually, but it still leans on the paper. I still land where the paper lands. The scaffolding is real either way. Now, the framing war, because the way this story got covered is its own receipt. Most of what traveled was the panic clip. Closet, candles, Running Man. That version did the numbers, and you can see why. It's self-contained, it's funny, it asks nothing of you. The TMZ syndicated write-up at least folded in the confrontation clip. The one where she confronts him about telling her he's going to keep sleeping with other women, and he answers with, "You want a motherfucker who's gonna play behind your back or play in your face." Which is a hell of a sentence to say to the woman carrying your child, and it got a fraction of the reach of the closet clip. The complex write-up went further. They covered the earlier stream where he told her, and I'm quoting carefully here because a child was in the room, that she has no potential and reduced her to a sex act. She responded, on camera, "Watch your dumbass mouth." Especially in front of him, meaning superior, cause he can go to school saying some, and she repeats the phrase back, like, "Don't say that." He's already said it. Loud enough for a microphone. The kid is standing there. And the correction, the parenting, frankly, is coming from the person the internet spent 2 days calling a witch. Now look at Hip Hop DX's framing. They led with the word shocked. Blueface shocked by girlfriend's alter, which turns him into the reactor and her into the trigger. Passive voice on his choices, active voice on her practice. Word selection is a policy. That headline is a policy. It told every downstream aggregator whose interiority mattered in the story, and the answer was his. And now look at the Shade Room's coverage, which back in February had gone all in on the pregnancy reveal, car, kiss, celebration. That same outlet, on Monday, ran the closet clip with the caption, "You're seeing this," and left the analysis to the comment section, which is its own choice. The February coverage was editorial. The August coverage was crowdsourced. The outlet that told you what to think about the pregnancy suddenly asked you to tell them what to think about the altar. That's a framing retreat. That's an outlet declining to write the sentence its own archive had already owned. Vibe went a different direction. Their Monday night post leaned on the word religion in the second paragraph, not the first, and buried the San Diego trip below the fold, which means a reader who scanned the top of the piece walked away with girlfriend does spooky ritual. A reader who made it to paragraph 5 walked away with boyfriend spent weekend with ex, gaslit girlfriend on camera, girlfriend praise. Same story. 2 different newspapers, depending on how far you scroll. And I know what the pushback is, because I've already seen it forming. Somebody's going to say, she knows exactly what she signed up for. She moved into a content house. She streams too. She took the car. She took the ringside seat to Blues World, and Blues World is humiliation as programming. That's the product, and she's cashing the check. And look, there's a version of that argument I respect. She is not naive. She says herself, I see what you'll see. She clocks his behavior in real time, out loud, on his own platform. That's not a hostage. That's a woman with her eyes open. But the paper cuts against the rest of it, because she knew what it was does not survive contact with a caption clip sequence. Watch what actually happened there. She brought him a claim. He produced the raw tape. The raw tape proved the claim was fabricated, and her punishment for believing a lie about him was to be called stupid on camera 4 times, while the truth in the frame, him, San Diego, Chrisean, due date on the calendar, went completely unaddressed. That's not a content partnership. That's a one-way ledger. He can be caught on video next to his ex, and the conversation ends up being about her comprehension skills. If you worked around that house or anywhere in that streaming circle, you already know this part is light. But the comments are open for the people who've seen how it runs from the inside. Here's the second Steelman, and I'm giving it its full weight before I dismantle it, because this one is going to divide the timeline. The headline camp, I'm looking at a specific XXL op-ed that ran midweek, argued that this is a two-way content operation, that Nevaeh's own stream metric spiked after the closet clip traveled, that she monetized the moment as hard as he did, and therefore treating her as the wrong party ignores her own agency inside the economy. The piece isn't stupid. It has receipts. Her kick concurrence doubled inside 7 to 2 hours. Her Instagram follow account added a low six-figure net that week. Those numbers exist. Here's where it comes apart. Agency inside a rigged room is not the same as authorship of the room. Callback. The trademark predates her pregnancy reveal. Callback. The LLC formed a month before the test. Callback. Her name is on zero of the publishing splits. Callback. The caption she believed came from an ecosystem the manager's camp has cultivated for years. She can grow her count off the fallout and still be the one paying the tax to generate the footage. Monetizing the wound doesn't unmake the wound. It just proves she's smart enough to bandage it with the same tape that cut her. And I'll say the harder thing. The piece implicitly assumes that if a woman profits from her own humiliation, the humiliation stops counting. Nobody applies that math to men. Nobody would apply it here if the roles were reversed. So we're not going to apply it now. So here's the verdict we're apparently not supposed to say out loud. The mainstream read is that this is a funny clip about a superstitious rapper and his girlfriend's spooky closet. That's the version the algorithm carried. And I'm going to say the thing plainly. The voodoo was never the story. The story is a smokescreen discipline campaign. A man who spent the weekend with his ex came home to a 9 months pregnant girlfriend and needed the narrative to be about anything except that. And the altar was perfect. It's visual. It's memeable. It lets him play the scared little boy instead of the caught boyfriend. Because notice what the fear actually accomplished. It put him outside the house, physically gone. We got to move, bro. At the exact moment accountability was inside it. It converted his infidelity weekend into her weirdness problem. It gave the clip pages a thumbnail where he's the protagonist fleeing danger instead of the defendant fleeing the question. And it worked. For 48 hours. The entire internet debated chicken soup while play behind your back or play in your face sat right there in the same coverage, barely quoted. Stack the callbacks and the mainstream frame collapses on contact. The 1.3-second inhale before the hell no. The Shango on his own arm while he laughs at Shango on her floor. The Mercedes 6 days after a courthouse appearance. The trademark filed a month before the test. The San Diego relink up 2 weeks after the first paparazzi cycle. The stay-away radius clocked by the geotag on his own broadcast. The scrub my rider caption. The 4 possessives, none of them her name. Each one, on its own, is a note in the margin. Stacked together, they don't spell superstition. They spell direction. And I want to name the outlets that pushed the mainstream frame hardest, because the framing didn't happen in the air. The Hip Hop DX headline chose shocked. The Fox syndicated Wired chose voodoo, which as its lead noun phrase. Both are choices. Both put the practicing woman in the dock and the fleeing man in the witness box. That's not neutral coverage. That's an editorial position with a byline attached, and once you name it as an editorial position, the algorithm did it defense doesn't survive either. And the miscaptioned clip, honestly, that one is almost elegant in what it reveals. Think about the machinery that had to exist for that moment to happen. Somebody clipped the San Diego stream. Somebody captioned it with a fabricated quote designed to make Nevaeh look delusional for staying. It traveled to her DMs. It worked. She believed it. And when the clean audio proved the caption was fake, the lesson he drew wasn't the internet is poisoning this house. The lesson was you're dumb for believing it. He diagnosed the disease. People put the captions on the video so it persuades the video correctly on camera, and then administered the disease himself by name-calling, by replay, by refusal to accept her correction until he'd extracted the maximum humiliation from it. Add this jab to the pile, because it belongs. He is a man who called his girlfriend stupid for falling for a fake caption while wearing a chain that references a religion he claims is scary. The consistency in the incoherence is almost impressive. He believes the caption on the necklace and disbelieves the caption on the closet, and the difference between the two is exactly which one costs him. Another. He filed the Blues World mark before he filed the pregnancy reveal with the public, and then had the range to lecture the same public about which parts of the arrangement were real. If the mark is filed first, The relationship is a product placement inside the mark. Don't let him tell you the branding was downstream of the love. The paperwork's date is not a suggestion. One more, because this one is almost sympathetic and I want it there for the drift. There is a person in that closet, the man, not the woman, who genuinely does not know how to be in a home. Every time he enters one, he narrates it into a set. Every time he encounters interiority he can't eyes, he panics and runs. That's not a joke. That's a diagnosis he'd need a room without a camera to hear, and there isn't one of those in his zip code anymore. And the absurd one, because Pass 4 earned a laugh line. This is a man who ate a 3x3 in a parking lot to avoid soup he'd been warned about by strangers on the internet, walked into his house at hour 2 of the plan, and was outmaneuvered by a woman on the floor with beads. The candles didn't do that. The clarity did. He walked in with tactics. She met him with a practice. Practices are older than tactics. This is why they win. The saddest beat in the whole stream isn't the closet. It's quiet. It's her, later, talking to the chat when he's out of the room. This is clearly not love. I don't know what the expletive this is. And then, the line that should end the debate about whether she knows what she signed up for. I'm not going to continue to be a dumb expletive and be like, oh yeah, he loves me. She's 38 weeks. She's praying to her ancestors for a safe delivery and for strength against, quote, the tongues that tried to claim a random kid. And the man is asking the chat how to leave a witch. The altar didn't curse anybody. The altar is just the only thing in that house that answers to her. So what happens now? Let's talk forward. The immediate arc is the birth. She's due this month. Baby shower reportedly days away. She's drinking raspberry leaf tea on stream, talking eviction notices for the baby. Watch what happens when that child arrives, because if the pattern holds, and the February to August pattern is the most consistent thing in this whole saga, the birth becomes a content summit. Hospital stream. Name reveal. The reset narrative. New chapter. Fresh start. Family over everything. Don't be surprised if the same man who called her a witch on Monday is kissing her forehead by the due date, because the apology cycle in this house runs on a content calendar, not a conscience. That's the falsifiable one. Timestamp it. Within 2 weeks of the birth, there will be a public gesture, a gift, a post, a stream moment, framed as proof that everything is fine. Screenshot this paragraph. Watch how the merch drops behind that reset. The next window will produce a limited Blues World run, hoodie, tee, maybe a baby onisite tied to the birth, and the profit split on that run will not include Nevaeh's name, per the same LLC that filed in January. By early next quarter, expect a retitled stream schedule with the newborn's initials worked into a segment name. And the failure prediction the mainstream keeps missing. The reset clip that travels widest will be captioned by the same clip economy that fabricated the San Diego quote, meaning the reconciliation will read as sincere to the exact audience that got played by the last caption. Once that hits, the loop closes. She's the villain again by winter without ever having said a word. The wild card is Carlissa. His mother has never been a passive character in this universe. She publicly congratulated the couple back in February, and she's already reportedly been online hunting for priest or preacher to come address the altar situation. If she escalates, and Carlissa historically escalates, the VOODOO storyline gets a second season whether Nevaeh wants one or not. And there's a version of this where the religious angle becomes the wedge issue that outlasts the relationship itself. Watch for the first time the altar gets blamed for something that has nothing to do with candles. Watch how that escalation cascades. The next stream Carlissa runs is about to have a concerned mother framing, and don't be shocked when a pastor shows up with a camera crew inside 4 to 5 days. By the time that pastor arrives, expect an unrelated household incident, a sick pet, a stalled car, a delayed check, to get retroactively pinned on the altar. And once that happens, secondary players enter. Watch for Jaden Alexis's camp to be quietly asked to comment, and watch for the comment to be diplomatic in a way that costs Nevaeh more than a direct attack would. That's the failure prediction the opposition doesn't see coming. The escalation doesn't need Carlissa to attack. It just needs the people around Nevaeh to stay polite. And the residue, the 5U file, is superior. That little boy stood in frame while his mother got called names, while adults argued about lies and captions and who said what in whose a. He picked his own outfit that morning. He cried because he wanted to stay with her instead of going to school. Whatever happens between Blueface and Nevaeh, reconciliation, separation, another season of Blue's world. The archive is permanent. That kid will be able to pull the VOD someday and watch exactly how his mother was spoken to at 38 weeks and exactly how she answered. And the thing about receipts, the thing we've said since the beginning, is they don't expire. They just wait. By 2031, expect Superior to be old enough to be asked about all of this on somebody else's platform, and expect the ask to come framed as a nostalgia beat rather than a reckoning. Once that interview hits, the archive gets a second life, the clips travel again, but this time with a grown kid's face attached to them. The industry residue is the harder one to see this early. The Content House with Pregnant Partner template Porter helped standardize is already being copied by two smaller creators I'm not naming yet, and their versions are going to end worse. Watch for the first lawsuit filed by a woman in one of those knockoff houses. When it lands, this Monday's Kickstream is going to be Exhibit A in somebody else's filing, and the failure prediction there is that nobody in this ecosystem is prepared for court to read a VOD as evidence instead of as content. And that loop I opened with, the thing sitting in the room that mattered more than the candles, it was never a spirit. It was a woman who'd stopped pretending on camera, in real time. The moment she said this is clearly not love out loud, the scariest thing in that house for Blueface wasn't the altar. It was the clarity. You can't run out the front door from that. It follows you. You've seen the tape, you've seen the timeline, you've seen who apologized and who extracted the apology. You know what to do. Like it if the read was worth it. Subscribe if you want the next case in your feed. Hit the bell, because this case is not closed and part 2 is already in the research folder. Drop where you land in the comments. I'm reading them. Wrap and receipt. The paper's on the table. Court's adjourned.